Welcome back, you two. How was your week off?
Oh, it was great. I got to look around the ship, got to see the citizens district of the ship, learned a lot about warp physics, including the fact that traveling through the warp can allow one to go forward and backwards through time, which I try my best not to think about given how close the warp is to where I was from.
Yeah, I essentially just did paperwork, which is mostly what I do anyway. Throne, my job sucks. At least I get field duty sometimes. Huh, I might need to dip into that at some point. Doubt it, but let's talk about the Thousand Sons Codex. I need to jump into this fast as I need to discuss the army rule again. Yeah, I noticed their psychics work a lot different than they were. Go ahead and start chatting. I'm gonna get back to my desk. Have fun with that. Now, Thousand Sons army rule changed a lot. Old version require you to bring 1,000 different characters in order to get psychic points to spend on buffs. But you only got points during your command phase, meaning that if you got the second turn, you'd be pretty well shot. Now, the ability is very different. Cabal of Sorcerers lets you perform psychic tests at the start of the shooting phase. Roll 2d6 and add the total together. You can then choose to channel the warp and roll a third d6 and add that to the total. However, if you roll any doubles or triples, you get to take a d3 mortal wounds to the unit performing the rituals. Now, you'll take this total and buy a ritual, and if you channel the warp, you'll get extra stuff, assuming you're the right level. Now, I realize I screwed up describing this. You choose the ritual first, then you roll the dice. So let's look over the rituals. Destiny's Ruin lets you re-roll hit rolls of 1 against a specific target. Unless your warp check gets 10 or more, then you can re-roll the entire hit roll. Not bad, it's an Oath of Moment, but worse, and runs a risk of killing your own unit. Temporal Surge requires a charge of 6. If you're not within engagement range of an enemy, that unit can move an extra d6 inches as a normal move. If you got a 10, you can move up to 6 inches, not a d6. Now, it does say normal move, which means you can't end the move within engagement range of an enemy, and you can't charge with this unit. Not bad, some extra moves is almost always nice. Doombolt is up next. Costs a charge of 7. A target within 24 inches of a spiker using this, except for against lone operatives outside of 12 inches, deal a d3 mortal wounds against the target. If you got 11 or more, add another 3 mortal wounds on top of the d3. Some hard damage is always nice. Last thing is Twist of Fate at a 9 charge. Gives an extra armor penetration against the target used on. If you get 12 or more, you'll get 2 AP against the same target. Honestly, I think this one is a bit placed wrong. I feel extra AP should be a lower cost option, since so many armies get the Armor of Contempt or similar. Hell, my knights essentially always have cover, so this just isn't that great unless you always get 12 or more, which ain't likely unless you channel every time, but that also runs a risk. Okay, detachments. Starting out, we got the Change Host of Deceit. This is the Daemon detachment. Half of your army is daemons that aren't a part of the T-Sons, but they can't be your warlord. Daemons get an aura of demonic illusions, which gives friendly T-Sun Psyker units within 6 inches and visible to the daemon in question a 4-up invuln against ranged attacks. T-Sun's units gain Mortal Sorcery Aura, which gives non-T Sons daemons under the same conditions the Kabbalah Sorcerer's Army rule. This seems to be almost universal across all daemon detachments, which makes me wonder why they don't just make this a part of the Daemon's Codex and say it needs to be specific daemon types. They probably will, but on to the next one. Grand Coven. Kindred Sorcery Detachment rule is as follows, and it's long. In your command phase, select one of the listed abilities, and it'll take effect until your next command phase, with each one only being usable once. Imbued Manifestation increases the range of all psychic weapons of T-Sons models by 6 inches. Psychic Maelstrom gives T-Son models with the psychic weapon a +1 on wound rolls for those weapons, and Wrath of Immaterium gives psychic T-Son weapons the Dev Wounds abilities. This is replacing the Cult of Magic Index detachment, and this is not near as good as you'd think. There's not a lot of psychic weapons in this army, believe it or not. All characters or sorcerer leader models have one psychic weapon, but almost nothing else. And this detachment's stratagems are also a hit or miss. One is literally an anti-psyker strat, but only if you're being attacked with a psychic weapon. Weird, but moving on. Skipping the Christmas detachment, we move on to Rubricae Phalanx. This one is fairly obvious. It's a Terminator detachment. No, it's meant for Rubricae units, which Terminators are in that list. All is Dust is a detachment rule. Each time an attack with an unmodified damage characteristic of 1 is put onto a Rubricae keyword model in your army, add 1 to any armor saving throws made against that attack. Essentially, you're allowed to possibly ignore damage 1 weapons, which are most weapons in the game. So this is a great rule, and given Rubricae units are battle line and the Terminators, yeah, this is gonna hurt as a detachment. Warp-Forged Cabal is up next. This looks like a vehicle detachment. Warp Fire Infusion is the rule. Each time a T-Sons vehicle is selected to shoot or fight, apply one of these 2 things when resolving the attacks. 1 allows the vehicle to reroll 1 hit, wound, and damage roll if it's within 6 inches of a friendly psyker. Or, if there is no psyker so close, you can choose 1 of those to reroll. Like the Knight's Lalo the Tyrant, but ultimately a lot worse. If a psyker is that close to the vehicle, and the vehicle is destroyed as well, the Deadly Demise is on a 5-up instead of a 6. But, being that close, it runs a major risk, but also a major reward, especially given my boys don't like to go boom. I don't know so much about this one, it just feels lackluster to me. But onto the last detachment, Warp Meld Pack. This is the Zangors detachment. It gives Zangors the battle line keyword, and it gives them extra objective control to all Zangors models. The detachment rule is Warp Meld Sacrifice. Each time an enemy unit is selected to shoot or fight, and 1 or more Tzeentch mutant units from your army is the target of those attacks, those units can make a Warp Meld Sacrifice. If it does, the Tzeentch mutant takes D3 mortal wounds, and the attack made against them rolls 1 less on the wound rolls. Not great so far, but part 2. Each time your mutants are selected to shoot or fight, before selecting the target, it can make a sacrifice. Take D3 mortal wounds and add 1 to the wound roll until the end of the turn. This is much better, given how weak Zangor weapons tend to be. Now, I know T-Sons players hate Zangors because they show up in every box for the T-Sons, but this is actually pretty good. While looking at the book, I made the joke that this could be the best detachment and the T-Sons players would avoid it out of spite, but it genuinely is a decent detachment, unironically. That's genuinely hilarious for me, but I need to work on part 2 of the Gene Sis video, so shove off.